T-shirts, dressing gowns, pajamas, terry towels, and tablecloths too. All the items, as we can see, are made of 100% cotton, baumwolle, or chlopok in Russian, the most popular natural phytogenous fiber. And coarse calico bed linen, carefully selected by the customers, is the most popular cotton product. Almost all people all over the world have it. But how real are these declared 100% of ecologically pure bed linen in the 21st century? What if, to believe the scientists, we spend 1/3 of our life on, in the most unprotected condition, and sleeping? Coarse calico, sateen, percale fabrics, and bed linen come into being behind the walls of textile factories. Tirotex is one of them, the largest modern textile industrial complex in the southeast of Europe. More than 3,500,000 items are produced there every year. This quantity is enough to provide each citizen of Moscow, Nairobi, Cape Town, or Berlin, the second most populous city in the EU, with bed linen. All starts from cotton, which is delivered to the factory pressed in bales. Approximately 120 bed sets can be made of this cotton bale. White gold, which, depending on the sort, can be snow white, lilac, or cream colored, just like this one, with cream, chocolate, and greenish shades. Nevertheless, it must have an absolutely different specific color, be accepted by a spin and mill. Otherwise, it will be just impossible to spin yarn, experts say. It is very important because yarn and fabric of high quality can be produced only from mature cotton. If to look at the mature cotton through a microscope, one can see that it has a gold-yellow color with a greenish tint. There can be yarn of different color within one cotton bale. Fibers of different color can have different properties. That is why cotton fibers are carefully checked in the factory's laboratory. Based on the results of laboratory testing, the specialists develop a yarn production recipe. Cotton bales are cleared of trash and mixed in a certain proportion to give homogeneous properties to yarn. But it is just a half of the work. To make yarn equally thick, it is necessary to put all the fibers parallel to each other. This work is quite laborious even for machines and requires several stages, as cotton fiber is 5 times thinner than a human hair, but its length is just 33.5 millimeters. Monotonically, layer by layer, these finest fibers are drawn out of the overlay, blended and delivered to the carding machines with the help of a huge vacuum cleaner. Here, with the help of rollers, a non-woven sheet is formed. The sheet is stretched until it reaches necessary thickness, and then layered to be transformed into a card sliver. fibers become parallelized by means of elongation. For instance, when cotton passes through joint cylinders, the speed of each next pair is higher than the speed of the previous one, and the effect is as if the card sliver is held back. Cotton fibers elongate and become more even and properly directed. We are producing a card sliver for coarse calico fabric now. If we need a card sliver for percale and sateen, we have to do the same operation twice, in order fibers to become as straight as possible because they shine, beauty and elasticity. A ready card sliver is loaded into a spinning machine. And this is the place where it is determined which kind of fabric this yarn will be used for, as the thickness and twist properties of yarn are set up exactly at this stage. Yarn spun for coarse calico fabric must correspond to the 34th count. Tirotex produces more than 100 different kinds of fabric, and there are several different kinds of yarn used for each kind of fabric. Even a classical coarse calico bed set requires 3 kinds of yarn. 1 kind of yarn for weft, a stronger yarn for warp, and twisted yarn for selvages, which is the strongest one. No any foreign materials, fibers or additives, only 100% cotton. This is a card sliver, the material used for production of yarn. This is the same. While going through a carding drum, it splits into fibers. The carding drum is here. Then the fibers get to a rotor, a place where yarn is formed. Yarn is spun to the left. It becomes stronger and stronger with each spin. A card sliver becomes 120 times longer at the moment when it transforms into yarn. But the speed of the automatic machine is so high that even the cutting-edge video equipment cannot fix this moment. And it takes a robot just a few seconds to repair a broken yarn. To relieve a static stress, yarn is given 3 days for rest. And then workers start preparing it for weaving. Bobbins with weft yarn can go to the weaving department after sauna. Yarn from the same giant bobbins, future fabrics warp, and selvage yarn is reeled on section beams. One beam, depending on the width and density of future fabric, can contain yarn from 450 to 600 bobbins. The maximum length of each one is 45 kilometers. Then yarn from several beams is reeled onto one big roll called a loom beam. A number of yarns on this loom beam increases 4 times and sometimes even 20 times. Warp yarn is treated with a special sizing compound in order not to tangle in the weaving department. In spite of the fact that all this sizing compound is washed off later, only natural products are used for its preparation: cornstarch and sunflower oil. It increases the durability. The warp becomes almost 2 times stronger than the weft. The looms in the weaving department are loaded with the yarn prepared for weaving. Only 1 or 2 loom beams can be installed simultaneously. Such fabric properties as the type of interweaving and density are set up at this moment. What is the process of weaving? This is a shed consisting of 2 parts: an upper part of the shed and a lower part of the shed. A weft yarn goes through the shed. A warp yarn changes its position, and then it's the turn of the next weft yarn to go, with a speed of 700 revolutions of the main shaft. You'll understand the purpose of the size only when you look at the working loom. The load on the warp yarn is so high that some fluff comes off even though the yarn is covered with a protecting layer of starch solution. The smallest particles of damaged fibers are sucked in, by an automatic vacuum cleaner. The length of a woven sheet is always shorter than the length of the yarn on the loom beam. Depending on the way of interweaving and density, the difference can vary from 2 to 10%. The width of finished fabric depends on many factors. It is the width of a weaving loom, cutting method, and the standards of a country that sets up produced in. Russia prefers coarse calico with width 220 centimeters. Germany demands fabrics with width up to 1.5 meters. Most popular width of fabric produced for Italy is 3 meters. Tirotex can produce any of these widths. One modern high-speed loom produces 21 meters of fabric per hour. Fabric produced by Tirotex during a year is enough to turn it around the equator. To print a design, you need fabric with a very smooth surface. That is why it is singed to burn out unnecessary fibers, and fluff appeared in the process of weaving. The size is washed off because it has already fulfilled its task. Fabric is bleached and thoroughly washed to remove all the bleaching reagents. Otherwise, no dye stuff will fix on fabric. Fabric must be also mercerized for better dyeing effect. Cotton fibers swell and can absorb much more dye stuff. Selection of pigments and preparation of solutions for an incredible number of colors is done with the help of a special computer program in an automatic color kitchen. Fabrics can be colored in two ways, by means of dyeing or printing. Dyed fabric is always one color fabric. In case of printing, you can apply up to 12 colors, and designs can be printed by two different methods. The first one is rotary printing. It is printing with cylindrical screens. Such screens are made at Tirotex. Year by year, Tirotex has been collecting an impressive collection of designs, about 15,000 printed designs. And at least 100 new designs are added to this collection every month. Thinner screws, the engraved elements of a design, are filled with dye stuffs. When rotating, the screen leaves a print on moving fabric. Each screen includes elements of a design only of one color. Therefore, sometimes up to 12 screens, put one after another, are needed to print the whole picture. The screens can be of different diameter depending on how often the elements of the design must repeat on fabric. If it is necessary to print a large-scale image, as long as the length of a duvet cover, it is difficult to do it with such rotary screens. There is another printing technology which is useful in this case. It is flat printing. The process of printing is the same. The dye stuff spreads over the flat screen to go through very small holes of the screen cloth and cover the fabric. The technology applied by Tirotex allows obtaining any color shade, from light to dark. Natural pigments are used for dyeing pastel colors. It is recommended to wash such fabric only at 40 degrees Celsius. Besides this, there are modern, highly resistant textile dye stuffs. Designs printed with such dye stuffs are bright, juicy, and durable. They do not bleed and stay bright even when washed at a higher temperature. But how can highly resistant dye stuffs be related to ecological purity and safety of bed linen? All the products of Tirotex are tested for safety for people's health. This Ecotex certificate is a confirmation of the fact that our goods are ecologically pure. Such processes, cutting and sewing, are carried out simultaneously at modern factories. With such big sewing automatic machines, it is possible to treat fabrics with width from 90 centimeters to 3 meters. First, the automatic machine treats the edges of a sheet in fabric length. Then it cuts the sheet in crosswise direction and makes hems at short sides. A care label with indication of article composition, 100% cotton, is attached to the item at the same moment. Duvet covers and pillowcases are sewn in a similar way. The only difference is an additional treatment of the closure part. Residents of different countries have their own preferences. A bed set with a bottle-shaped duvet cover is a favorite type of bed set in France. A duvet cover with side slits is a model preferred in Italy. Simple duvet covers with bottom opening are popular in CIS countries. Hardworking Germans do not betray their bed sets with button or zipper closure. Bed sets made of ecologically pure natural fiber are properly folded and packed as individual delivery lots ready to be dispatched to different countries. A demand for ecologically pure bed linen is growing every year. Traditional cotton items remain bestsellers in the 21st century, but at the same time they start acquiring absolutely new properties. For example, satin's brilliance does not come off 2 times longer now. There is percale bed linen with easy care or easy ironing finishing. And such a finishing as water, oil, dust and soil repellents has been recognized by Tirotex customers long since. A list can be continued. And all is done with a guarantee of our personal safety. 100% natural cotton.